Welcome back to Lift Talk. This is episode 45, and Matt and I are just back from APA 2025 Nationals. We're going to do a recap. We're going to keep it under 2 hours.
Please. I need to go home.
Yeah, my hips were so sore after the 3.5 hour episode last time.
I'm sure many people were sore just listening.
I had a lot of people being like, that was awesome, and like they were glad that it was so long. And then a lot of people messaged me being like, why is this so long? So
that's the real. I think there's different podcast enthusiasts out there. I know, like for me, like I listened back and just kind of split it up across a few car trips, which is I don't really listen to podcasts that often, so it's all right. But yeah, let's try and
we'll get through this one a bit quicker.
Fly through.
Obviously, preview show we try to go through all the potential scenarios. There's a bit more to talk about. I think with the recap show, we're not going to talk about as many people. We're just going to talk about, the medalists, maybe people who got close to the medals.
Cool moments.
And what actually did happen as opposed to like what could have happened.
Yeah, of course.
Matt, what was your big takeaways from the comp itself?
Big takeaways. So I think the quality of the event was sick. The quality of the lifting on average was really, really good. One thing that this comes to mind, even though I say that average of the quality was really great, was something that was odd was there was like a surprising amount of missed lifts for like missing the rack call or different little, more novice things like that. That's just a bit of a side note. But overall, I was really impressed. I also think that the coaching was really, really great. The vibe was really nice. Just being in the warm up room was always a really pleasant experience. Everyone very happy to help each other out. The crowd was great. Like the vibe was really good. Overall, I think it was a really spectacular event. There's more specific things that I enjoyed, but I think overall it was really cool to be a part of, and almost like a happy emotional thing in the sense of seeing Australian powerlifting continue to do so well and continue to make big strides. Like we were so thrilled last year with how the Nationals was, and this was just many levels on that, really, like truly. And even just old friends that I saw who have been in different feds and split up all over the place, that was quite special too. Whether coaches, people just coming to volunteer, like there were people there who were just there to volunteer, or athletes who won, who were not a part of the IPF until APA came through. So I think that there's an overwhelming positive feeling, which was really enjoyable. And to see, it's always nice, firstly, being in WA, it's the first time I've been there. It's the first time in memory there's been a national event in WA. I don't recall there being one since I've been in the sport.
APU 2018 was in WA.
Yeah, cool. I wasn't part of APU at that point. So it's the first time I've been a part of a powerlifting competition in WA. So that was special. I think a lot of people's first time over there, because they're always trekking over this way. So it was cool to see them put on a show and for us to sort of return the favor coming over to them. So I think it was excellent. I mean, the people are just awesome. So yeah, it was great.
The whole event as a whole, like shout out to Jacob, shout out to Chris, shout out to everyone from Strength Club in Perth for putting on the meet, everyone from APA who behind the scenes, all the referees, all the volunteers, all the spotters, loaders, everyone did such a fantastic job with all of the little finer details that allowed the coaches and the lifters to do their jobs. And I think like from the bottom all the way to the top, it was just fantastically run. You mentioned the progression in, the lifting standard from last year. I got a couple of stats for you. So I put up a story on Thursday night. I was like, how many records are going to get broken this weekend? How many open records? There was obviously a bunch of junior and masters records and stuff broken as well. So there are 64 total records that could be owned by someone, and 43 of them were broken on the weekend.
Huge.
24 out of the 32 possible women's records were broken, and 19 of the possible 32 men's records were broken. To talk about like the progression from last year's nationals, we had 137 athletes and only 19 went over 100 good lift points. This year we had 121 athletes, so actually a little bit less athletes, and over the double hit 100 GLs. 39 lifters went over 100 GL. So the standard is rising, and yeah, it's fucking awesome.
No, it's really, really good. Yeah, I don't really have too much more to say on the whole of the event. I mean, like you said, the attention to detail was really, really great. There was probably only one slip up I can recall, which we'll cover as we go through the categories, the weight classes. But yeah, look, really the fine details of it, the running of it, the streaming. Shout out to Chris and the media team, and even just like how the posts were going out with the media team, with Steph and her team, and yeah, I mean, even just as athlete experience, coach experience, being able to bring your lifter back to the warm-up room, having that 10, 15-second delay of the live stream that was then replaying your lift in that 60-second window where you can lodge your attempt was super helpful. I often looked at the live stream and I was like, I cannot believe the quality of this video. You know, it was like I was watching a recap of someone's day, but it was just the live stream quality, which is remarkable. I haven't seen many streams of that quality in powerlifting.
And something that was really cool. Awesome that Chris added was like, we brought up graphics of, I don't know if you saw any of this, but a lifter would be doing their opener.
Squat, bench, and deadlift.
And it would be like the percentage of their third squats and benches and deadlifts that they've made in their powerlifting career would pop up.
Yes, I did see that.
And then a little graph with the progression of their squat, and it'd be like a little bar graph, and it would be going up and down based on, you know, their results.
Hope they didn't put my deadlift graph up.
He's made 12% of his third.
That's really not far off that. But
you made it this year.
I did, baby. Yes, sir. Let's go. Yeah. So yeah, I'm 100% this year.
Nice. 1 for 1. All right. We'll go into the weight classes now.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we'll do the same order that we did for the previous show.
Yeah, like bounce between.
So we'll start with Vicky in the 47, obviously lifted on her own.
Yeah.
She had a cracker of a day.
She was awesome.
142.5 squat for a new Australian record and equal to what she did as a 52 at SPD Cup. 91.5 bench, which was actually half a kilo more than she did at SPD Cup.
And it moved.
And it was nice.
Yeah.
And then she only went 2 for 3 on deadlift with 165. I did hear her and Lennox talking after her 165 because I had Liz up next. So I kind of overheard the conversation. And she was like, oh, I want the 3 red plates, but, you know, maybe we go 174, maybe we go 173 because they could obviously choose because of the record. They ended up going for the 3 plates and she got it locked out. It was a little bit of up and down movement. It was like really, really close. I think it was the right call from the refs, but she was that close to a 409 kilo total. So she finished with 399.
Yeah.
409 would have been 3 kilos more than she did at SPD Cup. And yeah, I think this sets her up really, really nicely for Worlds in Germany.
Yeah, we were sort of talking about this competition for Vicky as almost like a opportunity because in a sense it's low priority because she's there by herself and she's such a high performer that she could really create that runway into Worlds. And I think she's done that beautifully, to be honest with you. Like locking out a 175, you know, in a sense you can count that from a strength perspective. Obviously in competition, you know, there was a standard that was just slightly missed, which was very close. I agree with you. It was the right call, but awfully close. And I think we saw a lot of awfully close calls that could have gone either way. And I think that Vicky's very good at kind of copying that on the chin. She's a referee herself and understanding that she still executed a wonderful, wonderful day and had a good chat with her afterwards. She was obviously upset about missing because, you know, when you're that close to a perfect day, it's like a big fall emotionally almost because you're right there. You've actually locked it out and there's an odd that you're going to get it. So, you know, she was upset initially, but already, you know, we were in the gym the other day, back into it. She's like super locked in. So I've just been saying to her, hey, like 180, you know, don't even move past that 175. You've done it. You're on, you know, trajectory past that number because her training has been, I was commenting about her deadlift really clicking the last 3 or 4 weeks of her prep. You know, I just encourage her, just look beyond it, keep on moving. Like, let's get up there, you know? So I think she's going to do great. Yeah,
really excited to see Vicky up at Worlds and hopefully getting a medal for Australia.
That'd be awesome.
All right, moving on, 59 kilo class.
Okay.
So we had 3 lifters in this class and it kind of played out how we thought it would with Jonas kind of being a little bit ahead of the other 2 guys and then the other 2 guys sort of battling it out for second place. So we'll talk about Jonas first, if I can actually find where he is.
Yeah, so Jonas went 3 from 3 on squat with a 192.5 squat, and that put him 2.5 kilos ahead of Dan and 2.5 kilos behind K. Into bench, Jonas hit 2 from 3, missing 125, so 5 kilos between his second and his third, and then went 3 from 3. His pulls were awesome. He looked really on with his deadlifts. Pretty sure he hit bang on the QT with 555. 242 and a half deadlift. I'm fairly sure that was the goal there. So yeah, I mean, I've seen him posting about maybe not going to Worlds, which honestly is always a little disappointing to see when people sort of hit the QT and then don't want to go. Obviously, everyone has their own reasons for wanting or not wanting to go international. Especially because we don't often see representation in this weight class at the world level from Australia. So look, remarkable performance. I think he was very happy with the outcome, and I think he executed really well. I mean, to go 8 from 9 in this weight class, just missing a bench press, I think is notable, considering if we look across the other two, there were a couple more missed lifts. We're looking at sort of 7 and 6 for 9. So again, it's one of those situations where the winner we expected, coming in with a really strong nominated total and then performed nicely. It was one of the more straightforward weight classes.
Yeah, so Kay actually went for 230, which would have given him the world's QT as well. So he missed that, which was before the other two boys. And then Jonas came in and got it. So if Kay had made that, Jonas's 242.5 would have also been for the win and for the world's QT, which I think would have been super, super exciting.
So Jonas is actually heavier. 58.94.
Yeah, so he would have needed
Goes 58.2. He would have needed 245.
And the record is actually 242.5. So it
would
would
have been
243.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, that's an interesting play out, and obviously they made the right calls. Good to see that Kay was going for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, fairly straightforward weight class. I think the performances were really good. And yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe Jonas changes his mind. Maybe he goes to Worlds. We'll see. But if not, someone else will be hopefully ready to take that spot.
Be interested to see who does end up ranked high enough to take that spot.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, pretty straightforward weight class at 59s, 555 for the win, 540 for second, and 537.5 for third.
Yeah, so super close between those three guys, and will be an exciting weight class to watch next year as well with Dion coming back too. So there'll be sort of 4 of them in the hunt for
Are those
top
like
spot.
when you read out those totals? Are those closer than you expected at all?
Yeah, I actually
in the
think
end?
I
Like,
think
in the
so. Yeah, I think so. I think we had about a 25 kilo gap when we did the preview show.
Yeah.
I did see Jonas's post, and it seemed like he was battling some injuries, particularly with his squats, which may have sort of brought that total down a little
Strained
bit.
to QL, I think.
Yeah, and he obviously mentioned the importance of the physio work that he got done by Alex Foreman. So yeah, maybe his total would have been higher had he had a more smooth prep, and that also might be factoring into the decision to not go to Worlds if he is a bit banged up. So I guess we'll have to see how that all plays out. But yeah, 59 has historically been like almost a bit of a dead class in Australia, and it's cool to see it coming up and to see sort of guys being so close to the world's QT, the world standard, and there being like a good amount of them to sort of push each other up.
And it's natural, right, with those fringe classes. There's just less people who sit at that body weight, But I agree. Very, very cool to see the weight class coming alive.
Yeah.
Great. So let's talk about the 52 women's now. So 52 women's, I mean, I think that you should chat about a lot of this because you were there coaching the top 2 of the 3.
Yep.
So we had Liz Craven in first, Zin in second, and then we had Kate in third. And that was 418 for the win, 400 in second place, and 398.5 in third place. So talk us through how that day played out and any of your sort of thoughts about some of the decisions that were made to kind of decide that top 3, and then also some of the decisions around qualifying totals, because I know both the top 2 have made the qualifying total for Worlds. So talk us through.
Yeah, so we'll start out with squats. There was kind of 3 who were in the hunt for the record, who we flagged during the preview show. So Kate, Ainsley, and Liz, all in the hunt for that record. The record before the comp was 148. They all put in identically 148.5 for that third squat. And how that works in a powerlifting comp is they all sit in the scoreboard as 148.5. The lifter with the lower lot number will go first. If that weight is successful, the weight will be bumped up by 0.5 kilo, the next record increment, essentially, which is what happened. So Kate went first, 148.5, sorry. Liz was then bumped to 149.0. She came in and got that. And then Ainsley was bumped to 149.5, but there was actually not enough 0.5 kilo plates on the platform. So they had to bump her up a further 0.5 to 150, which she was successful with. Unfortunately for Ainsley, though, she didn't get a bench press attempt in. All three of her attempts, she got two reds from the side for bum lift. So she actually bombed. So the record went back to Liz. And then I guess we'll talk about bench press. All three of them were all actually really similar in bench press as well. Ainsley's second and third attempts were both 85, unsuccessful. Like she pressed them, but unsuccessful from the referees.
What I'll touch on quickly is with the micros that was an error. That was probably the only real bungle of the comp. And then it was immediately fixed. So the micros were available thereafter.
It's so rare that you need that second half.
Yeah, 4.5 and 9.5. Yeah, so it was one of those oversights.
Yeah.
But yeah, not to focus on it too much, but just to note that was fixed immediately.
Yep.
And thankfully, Ainsley actually got that squat.
Yes.
So that was cool.
Yep.
Would have been.
It was so close that potentially 0.5 could
was going to be the tip over. But she got it.
She did really well on that 150. So Kate bench 85, Liz bench 85, and Ainsley did bench 85, but wasn't given it from the side referees. So I haven't mentioned Sin yet. So she went 3 for 3 on squatting 140, which was a comp PR. That was her first time ever going 3 for 3 on squats, and her first time in a while actually making her opener. We spoke about her depth in the previous show, but she did such a good job to sort of like work on the different technique stuff that I gave her and improve her confidence in the squat and just kind of like her ability to just sort of flow into it. She was kind of like, she would slow down and almost get stuck just above depth when it would get heavy, which I think is just like a psychological thing mostly. So she did such a great job. But she was a bit behind the pack after subtotal. She benched 75, which was equal PB, missed 77.5 with her bum coming up, although she got the press. So after subtotal, Kate was actually Liz was in the lead by half a kilo to Kate, and then Sin in third with Ainsley unfortunately not getting any bench press attempts. So going into deadlifts, it was pretty clear that Liz would win because, her deadlift was the highest opener and sort of put her miles ahead. So, once she had got her second deadlift, it was kind of locked in that she would win. She went on to make her third deadlift of 184, which gave her that 418.
Moved nice too.
Yeah, it was really good. I think all of her lifts actually got better as it got heavier. Like her openers for all three were a bit sluggish, and then her second was a bit better, and then her third was even better. And we spoke about this as well in the preview that Liz kind of rises to the occasion.
Yeah.
And she did that. So yeah, she totaled 418, walking away with the squat and the total records. And funnily enough, was the exact same total that she won the 57 kilo class with last year, which I think is pretty cool.
That's extremely cool.
So Kate obviously had quite a big lead on Sin. She went 2 for 3 on deadlift and only took a 2.5 kilo jump to her third. So that really was the limit for her on the day, that 165, which left us with the decision of whether we go for 184 to beat Kate, which would have been the lowest possible record attempt because the record was 183.5. So that would have given us 399, or whether we also go for 400, hit the world's QT on the nose and also take second place. So we decided to do that. Sin came in and absolutely nailed it. It was perfect. And yeah, she was able to take home the silver medal.
Yeah, no, that was great. The way that they played out, I mean, it was definitely sad to see Ainsley bomb with the bench press, but I think her squat was really, really impressive. Shame she doesn't walk away with that record. And then for the top three who battled it out, Liz had a remarkable day. Like I said, hitting the same total that she hit a weight class up last year is phenomenal. And I mean,
especially at her age as well.
There's no shortage of cool things that Liz has done, but that's definitely added to that, resume, so to speak. And then I think I heard something about her points as an M2. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so the performance was 106.4 good lift points, which is the highest ever female M2 GL score in IPF history.
Amazing.
And third all time. Only 2 men sit above her, one of them being David Ricks.
Yep.
And she's not too far off. She's like 3 points away from first. So
yep.
Hopefully we can take that this year.
She looked good for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super impressive. Yeah.
To talk on Kate's last deadlift, it was extremely close. The 167.5, which meant that Sin would have needed 186.5 for that silver medal, which I reckon she would have been good for it.
In the hierarchy of choices, it's obviously in retrospect, do you imagine that you would have settled for the QT and third or gone for second?
We would have gone for second because it was only 1.5 kilos.
Yep.
So yeah, she would have needed 401.5 had Kate got her last deadlift.
Yeah, you thought that was feasible. Yep.
Yeah.
And after watching the 185...
Actually, I think it was 186.0 actually. Yeah, it was because we had body weight. So only 1 kilo difference. I think that's a pretty easy choice.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree there. Yeah, really exciting class. Very, very strong performances. And well done to the top 3 there for doing so well.
Yeah, and a really exciting class moving forward too, with Ainsley making so much progress. And yeah, those other 2 who battled it out for second, I think they'll all sort of push each other to the next level.
Absolutely.
I did talk to Victor, and he's trying to get Kate to go up to the 57. I don't know whether that will happen because it looks like she'll get that tertiary selection Worlds invite, so she'll probably stay down for Worlds. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there in the future.
Absolutely. Beautiful. 52s, great class.
Also, Zin will be going to Worlds.
Yep.
Which is sick.
Yep. Okay, because Liz doesn't want to go, right?
Yep.
Yeah, got you. All right, over to the 66 kilo men's class, which was everything I hoped it would be in a lot of ways. Firstly, the top 3 were, as we expected. Chris Yip came away with first place and a 660 total. Andrew got second place and a 643.5 total. And Yuki got third place with a 625 total. Chris had a absolutely flawless day.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
He showed up and managed to do the things that we sort of expected would be needed or necessary. Pardon me. His subtotal was an improvement, and that put him in a really strong position going into the deadlift. And in the end, he, had the open floor for the third deadlift due to Andrew's miss with the 272.5. So he was the clear winner. He turned up and executed beautifully. He arguably had a bit of room all day.
Yeah.
And then to hit a 305 Australian record deadlift, which is, I believe, 12.5 kilos under the recently set record by Show at Sheffield, 317.5,
Yep, correct.
which was previously 307 ballpark, I think, before that.
It was 307, yeah, before Sheffield. Yep. That's right.
Is really exciting. I mean, as someone who, I haven't had a conversation with Chris about whether he wants to go to Worlds, but I hope he does. And to see someone potentially marching up on that record is really, really exciting. So yeah, 660, that's also got to be, it's also 10 times. I didn't even realize that, but that's also, 10 times body weight total, which is probably first time for him, possibly, or would be first time for...
Definitely first time for him, yeah.
Yeah. So, I have only great things to say about Chris' performance. Andrew came away with the squat record, 236 kilo squat record. He had a good squatting day. I know he was cramping quite a lot on his initial 2 attempts, so there was a little bit of I guess, an underperformance relative to the conversations I'd had with him, and I think that was a good call, especially considering the cramping. Bench press opener was missed. I can't recall exactly what that was for.
I think he beat a call.
Yeah, he may have beat a call. I can't remember exactly though, so don't quote us on that. But then he carried on and kind of went a bit more conservative again. Probably lost a few kilos here too, which may well have, led to different decisions on the deadlift, but that's the way it played out, and that's exactly what we say about sport, about powerlifting, is you can come in with theoretical total and theoretical lifts, but you don't account for, he cramped on the day, something happened. This is exactly the reality, and as a 66, some of these guys are cutting weight, sometimes quite a lot of weight, and these are some of the things that come into play. Yuki missed his third squat. He had trouble on his bench press, missed his opener, retook and got it, and then went up just a 2.5 kilo jump. That was a surprise for me in the sense of where his strength was at. I think we did discuss the, fickle nature of his execution in the sense that he has an extreme technical I guess
Window.
Yeah. It's a, like I've phrased before. I don't see that as a negative thing, but I see it as a very specific thing. And I think we saw that play out as someone who benched 170 for 3 in training to even consider the prospect that he may miss 157.5 on an opener for any reason at all was quite baffling. So I would love to see him find out what's going on there, because his potential is obviously huge with the bench press. I think that probably let him down quite a lot.
And that third squat was missed on depth as well. So he actually had the strength for it.
Yeah.
Again, we spoke about this in the previous show. He's a little borderline on depth sometimes. He's a little bit fickle with his bench press, and that's kind of what played out here. And that Yuki needed to have a really good subtotal day. He needed to be quite a fair chunk ahead of the other two on subtotal in order to stay ahead and be able to sort of hold them off. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to do that.
Yeah, tried to pull for a 645 total, didn't hit the 260. And then Andrew tried to pull for a 653.5 total with his 272.5, which also wasn't successful. Which, that would have required Chris to, adjust that attempt a little bit. But in the end, like I said, it wasn't necessary. So really exciting class. I think Chris has done an amazing job of just working silently and put out a flame recap.
Yeah, that was so good.
And this is what we like to see, At the end of the day, I know all three of these lads, like we've sort of said, they're very different personalities, but I know they all equally want the rise of the sport, the rise of the 66ers, and I think they're doing that. And there's little things like that which help push it along as well. I definitely, we spoke a little bit about not posting your training and whether that can benefit you. I don't think that Chris doesn't post his training for that benefit. I think that he just does his training and doesn't really care about posting it and kind of whatever. And then to kind of put out some of the context afterwards is always nice to see as a viewer of the sport. Okay, he alluded to some hardship, he alluded to some moments, he alluded to some banter or whatever you might call it. And then he was able to put up this flawless performance, which, actions at the end of the day speak much louder than words. So that was really cool to see. And very excited for where Chris can take that total at the world level.
We spoke about in the previous show, I think you said that Chris kind of relies on needing a good deadlift day. And he actually didn't in this case. Like he had made so much progress on squat and on bench press that brought his subtotal up 10 kilos that he didn't actually need to have a great deadlift day to hold those other two off. And, like you mentioned earlier, he had free reign on his final deadlift to do whatever he wanted.
Absolutely.
And it's so impressive to see someone who is a specialist sort of work their way into no longer being a specialist. Like benching 140 as a 66 is impressive. Squatting 215 as a 66 is impressive. And then when you add that to a 300 kilo plus deadlift, like he's turning into like a force. And
100%.
It could be too hard for Andrew and Yuki to catch him from here if he continues on this trajectory.
Was it 210, 135?
Yeah, it was plus 5 on both.
Yeah, which is remarkable. And we sort of...
in that short period as well, from November to Feb.
And we sort of speculated whether settling into the weight class would bode positively or negatively for the subtotal in the short term. And evidently, I mean, like I said, he had room on the squat. I can't recall how hard or easy the bench was. I don't recall it being a big grind or anything.
The bench was smooth, but it was like he's quite long armed, so
it was probably about it.
Tip you over.
The 215 though was great. I mean, I do think again where someone moves slowly or quickly can be deceiving. Perhaps a little more might have been really tough, but he moved through the 215 really nicely. I think to speak on your point about the deadlift, I think I'd still stand by that point of theoretically, if Andrew were to have a really good 9-for-9 day, Chris's deadlift would have had to have been very strong. I still think there is that disparity there somewhat with the best day from Andrew on a subtotal, but you're 100% right. He was able to put up such a respectable subtotal that it isn't a situation anymore where you go, Chris is a deadlift hero in the truest sense of like being a country mile behind. Like let's refer quickly to like the disparity between like the 120s as they go into their deadlift, right? Like we're not seeing that kind of situation where, in the end, like you said, with a little slip up from the others, he didn't even really need his cert. He was just able to choose what he wanted to choose, which was, I think that's really cool to see that change and that progression because it's always nice to go into a competition with less pressure on a specific lift You know, if you can go in and go, no, I'm getting more and more balance over time. I do have my strength. And if you're going to have any strength, the deadlift is
the best strength to
the
have.
one you want to have. So, yeah, it was remarkable to see him show out like that and very impressive. Honestly, I expected him to do well, but he was even higher than where I had hoped he would land in terms of his execution, in terms of his strength, in terms of all of those things. And yeah, he's a great dude. So it's really good to see him do well.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like one of the best battles, that we spoke about in the preview show. One of the things that we were looking forward to most.
Yeah,
and
just clinical.
It was great.
Clinical, 9 for 9,
And
660.
Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely deserved the win.
Beautiful.
All right, moving on. 57 kilo class. We had a pretty clear top 3 here. Cindy Zheng taking out the gold with 430.5. Samantha Kratz 425 in silver, and Kirsty Lay 412.5 in the bronze. How much of this one did you get to watch?
I watched the majority of this, actually. Yeah, it was a really, really good competition from my perspective.
I don't have a ton to say about this one because I was coaching in the 52s at the same time. So I'll let you take the reins on this one.
Yeah, for sure. So Cindy, to speak on Cindy, I think that the only thing I'll say about her performance was that, she not only did we predict that she looked good for that QT, but she looked good for it on the day too, and did fall just short of it. But it seemed more due to the plan not going to plan in some ways. So to elaborate on that, Cindy opened at 155 on the squat. She clipped the rack on the way up. She stands extremely close to the rack, and she actually hit the underside of the bench hook as she stood up. And it was fine. She got white lights. It was completely okay, and that's allowed. But it was just a bit of a turbulent start to the squat. And then she straight out missed the 165.5 second attempt. So took a 10.5 kilo jump, looked pretty reasonable. She'd hit 170 in training, and she just missed it straight out. She just got to the middle, fell over, just didn't hit her spot. And I was like, oh, okay, are we going to be left here with the 155? Pretty much smokes the third 165.5.
Yeah, the third was awesome.
She just hit her spot, and I'm like, okay, that was a really reasonable second attempt, which again tells me that they probably left anywhere between 5 to 7.5 kilos on the table,
from the plan,
which would have been really, really important for making that QT. But it was great to see her come out, recompose herself, and hit that so well. But it just shows that for her squat, and I have seen a lot of her training where she just has some days where she just misses. She just doesn't hit her spot and just falls over. And that's something that I'm sure that will gradually improve over time. But yeah, to see her come in with the potential to probably hit a 172 was really great. And I think that overall, the squatting performance, she walked away with a 165.5 record. So remarkable stuff there.
Yeah, that was 6.5 kilos above the record before the day.
And room there, man. To see
that's
where
a huge
57
break.
record is going to be 170 to 180 in no time, which is really great. Bench press, she hit 90, missing 92.5.
That was also the record standard. So she picked up the bench record.
Which one?
There as well, the 90.
The 90? Yeah. Wow. Great. And then, 92.5 miss, which was, again, probably just a slight underperformance relative to the expectation from training. She pressed 95 with a bit of a short pause. So, again, stacking these little kilos that would have put her towards 440, really, So, and then the deadlift was probably the star of the day. And she seemed really thrilled with that 175 record. So she came away with all the records in that weight class. The 90 doesn't say...
Deadlift wasn't the record.
The 90 bench doesn't say record next to it. So, no, the 175 says... Oh, that was total. Yeah, bet.
So she walked away with the
total, squat, and...
Squat, bench, total.
Bench doesn't say R next to it on the Syncast.
Maybe because it was the standard.
Yeah, it might just be a recording thing. But yeah, regardless, Cindy, was tremendous, 430.5. Then if we look at Samantha, Samantha had a phenomenal day. This was, you were, I believe, calling Samantha as a very strong contender here.
Bit of a smoky, yeah.
Yeah, came through with a 160 squat, bench pressed 87.5, pulled 177.5, missing 190. I don't recall how close that was.
The 190 wasn't close, but it was for the QT.
Yeah.
So that was actually 32.5 improvement on her qualifying total, which is kind of what I said was like if she can get back to where she was pre-pregnancy, then she'll be a real contender. And turns out she was not only pulling for the win at the end, but she was pulling for the world's QT as well.
Yeah.
So she's right there. She's really close. And it will be really cool to see these two kind of continue to push each other up. I think we'll be seeing 450s in the 57s.
Yep, absolutely.
Do you want to make any more noise, Chris?
Dude.
I think we'll be seeing 450s and 450 pluses from the 57s.
Absolutely.
In the coming years, which is awesome.
And then if we look at Kirsty came through and missed a squat opener. I didn't actually see what she missed for. It may well have been something like depth.
I saw the video in the screen because I had a look at the scoreboard and it popped up red. And then I saw the video in the screen and I could not figure out what it was for.
Okay.
Like it was definitely not high. She got yellow cards. So
Okay.
Perhaps she beat the squat command or the rack command or something. But the squat itself looked great.
Yep. And then went on to squat 130, bit safe, and then jumped a bigger jump from there to 137.5 and secured that. Ended up with 85 on the bench and then ended up with 190 on the deadlift, attempting 203. So 203 would have taken
Silver,
her into silver. And that was a good attempt, but it was probably, five
too heavy.
5 kilos too heavy, something like that. Kirsty can grind, but it's one of those things where she's got to get through the mid phase of the pull, which didn't really get to that point where she could work into it. But very, very gutsy attempt and pretty insane to see a 57 load over 200, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So that's...
and she did something similar last year. She actually has the deadlift record, which is 192.5.
Yep.
Which she got at last year's nationals, which was a pull for silver.
Yep.
And it was quite a big jump. I think it was a 12.5 jump.
Yep.
And everyone was looking at the board like, oh, shit. And then she came in absolutely grinded the shit out of it. It was fucking mad.
Yeah.
So, there was always the chance that she was going to get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, interesting here that we also, had a choice from Sam to pull not just to get the win, but also to get the QT, which I respect. But, 177 to 190, big gap there. What would she have needed? She was... that was same on body weight, 56.52. When does that happen? So lot number. Do we have lot number here? No, we don't have it. But she would have needed a little bit less to just go past Cindy, considering that if 192.5 was a deadlift, she could have attempted micros.
She would have needed 185. Yeah, she would have needed 185.
Yeah,
I think.
Cool.
Yep. All right. Well done to all those women. That was fantastic.
Yeah, so 430.5 for Cindy, 425 for Sam, and 412.5 for Kirsty.
So moving on, the 74 kilo men. So we had a repeat champion with Leo getting the W with 748. Second place, Kian, 742. And third place, he pulled for the bronze. It was 305 pull for the national deadlift record, 4,700 on the nose, and for the bronze medal was Tom Del Rosario. Did you get to watch much of this one?
I did watch a fair bit. I was in because these guys were competing same sort of ball,
same as the 57,
as 83, session. So I was back there coaching, and I was sort of peeking over a little bit because it was 3 groups, I think, this session.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's like an 83 group, an 83 and 74, and then like a
63
a women's one. Yep.
Yep.
So I did catch a lot of it. So let's just speak on how differently this sort of played out to expectations. So 748 and 742, and then 42 kilos down to third and fourth, who were tied.
And then only 2.5.
697 for Danny.
Yeah.
Like Danny was one that we mentioned to watch out for, and I think he did remarkably well. And then if we just kind of come back up to the top, Leo was 748, missing a 10 kilo jump on his third for 758, which was mad. I mean, obviously it was a similar situation there where to like Chris, where he didn't need that deadlift. He was able to select something that he sort of wanted to go for. The 303 I didn't see how close to 313 got. Did you?
Not close.
Okay. So 303 was clean, but what, maybe had 5? Yeah. So 280 on the squat from Leo was
Yeah, that was epic.
bloody grind. And that was a pivotal lift, evidently. And then 165 on the bench was nice. And then obviously the 303 to wrap up the win. Kian hit 742. His what was his nominated total? About
702.
40 kilos less? Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
40.
713. Sorry.
Okay, so about 30 kilos less. That was amazing to see. 270 on the squat, which I think is the squat that he put up in training. I think he did like 270 something and 290 was his training post.
270 was what he missed at SPD Cup.
Yep.
So, came in and got that.
Yeah, and he moved through that really, really well. His 177 was really easy.
So easy.
Super fucking easy. And then his 295 was really clean.
Yeah, it was great.
Really great. And, I was eagerly watching him starting his deadlifts, like how we looking here, because we saw some hook grip issues and stuff like that in previous competitions. And he's obviously worked on it. He's obviously cleaned it up. And it's made all the difference to pulling that day together, And we both chatted to him afterwards and were just kind of remarking just how brilliantly he executed, which at the end of the day, coming in strong is one thing. He always comes in strong. But coming in and executing a 9-for-9 day and going 742 and progressing by that degree, I'm very, very interested to see where he goes next.
Especially given how young he is as well.
He went past 10 times.
I think he's 24, he's 24, which shows me that there's a lot more for Kian. And as you said, man, like this was one of the most impressive performances of the weekend for me. Especially, we had a lot of doubts over his execution, over his sort of game plan, his decision making, and he completely proved us wrong. And he's rewritten his own narrative now. And he's now going to be someone who's one of the top dogs.
Absolutely.
He's not going to be like maybe if Kian can put it together, maybe he can get here or there. He's going to be like, Kian can challenge Leo now.
Because literally the words I said were that 2 guys could do 730, 740, but the data would say that Leo will, and the data would say that Kian could, something like that. And now it would be that both guys are absolutely capable of now. Yeah. You would be expecting 750 plus beyond,
And Kian, I believe, will get one of the first leftover world spots. I think he's the second ranked person who didn't win. If there's any open spots on the team, so we'll see if Jonas goes. I think Tanis is tossing up whether he goes.
Hung's tossing it up.
And Hung's tossing it up. So there could be a spot and we could see Kian, progress on this and,
another battle with Leo and the rest of the 74 class at Worlds.
Yeah. So that's something that I'm really looking forward
to. Love to see that.
Congrats to Kian. Congrats to Leo.
Especially because he really made Leo work in a lot of ways. So like the squat, I mean, it was a 5 kilo jump, but say he didn't make that third squat. I mean, like not to sort of play too many theoreticals, but say Leo ended up on 275. That would have really pushed that deadlift into a place where it would have been really, really interesting if he got it. Whereas the 303 was super clean. Full respect to Leo, had a really clinical, strong day and, showed that he was the stronger, better lifter on the day, but it was awfully close. And I think credit to Kian for making it awfully close. Moving on to third place, Thomas hit 700, which I'm sure he's not pleased with.
Yeah, only getting one squat.
Yeah, dropped a lot of kilos on the squat and dropped a few more kilos on the bench press as well. Did come away with the deadlift record at 305. Had Leo, made an attempt a little bit less than 313, he might have been able to reclaim that. That might have been a potential thing to look at, but Thomas walks away with that 305 deadlift, and that was an extremely nice deadlift. I think he performed beautifully there. The squat was the second squat on...
The second squat was high, and they went up, and then I think he just missed on strength.
Yep. Yeah, got it. Okay. And that's always a tough pill to swallow when you go up from something like 252 to 262, and you drop 22 off of the squat, and that obviously takes you well out of the race. Even so, had he gotten that 262.5, he still wasn't really in the game with the other two. So I still think he's an exciting character to watch, and he's showing incredible potential. But that's a 6 for 9 day. you know. And again, we talk about Kian and him earning this reputation now of someone who executes. Now Thomas is going to have to get back to the drawing board and kind of decide what to change and what to adjust for the next time so that he comes through and does make more lifts to put himself in the conversation. So yeah, 74s were really, really awesome. Congratulations to all three and the rest. Because also, I mean, Alan, 700. Let's talk quickly about Alan and Danny, because it was close enough to talk about those two.
Alan is someone to look out for as well. He's only 23 as well.
He went 9 for 9.
He had a fantastic day, 9 for 9, 232, 172, 295.
Bro, these deadlifts from these 74s.
So, yeah, that's someone to really look out for. Someone that we didn't mention on the preview show. I think his nominated total was in like the 670s. Yep. Oh, sorry, it was 657 and a half. And so I mean, that's a over 40 kilo
we
improvement.
Have got that experience where like Thomas went far below what we expected. Alan went far above where he nominated. That's exactly what is going to happen. And just quickly, people listening, we will never be able to predict that. So full credit to Alan for showing up, going 9 for 9, and progressing so much in his training. And it happening to be, a tied total and ending up 4th place versus Thomas. But that's going to happen, and that's exactly what I'm like quivering for. I'm like, that's exactly what I'd love to see. So that was really, really cool. And I also have to give huge credit to my boy Danny for doing so well and benching 182.5, walking away with that bench press record and securing a 697.5 total, which is also a massive improvement. He was able to hit 3 deadlifts, which I know he was really, really happy about. And yeah, I think he only got like a bench depth call maybe on the opener.
Yeah, that's right.
And he adjusted well for that. And
he missed his 3rd squat, which again, that could have changed the calculations for bronze.
Yep.
That would have made those bigger pullers change those attempts to get that bronze medal. But yeah, the top 5 here were really, really impressive. And 74 class has always been really fun in Australia and continues to be.
This is without Steve in the mix, and it was still really hot, So that's cool.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the 63 kilo women. So we had a bit of a 2-horse race here for the top. Abby Wallace was able to pull out the win with an enormous improvement from her best total of 47.5 kilo improvement from her best total, which is just absurd, like actually unheard of. So she finished with 502.5 and Shay Zaru finished with 500. Now I know Shay wanted 500 and didn't care about anything else. The squat went to plan, 185. The bench, she missed her 3rd attempt, a 2.5 jump. So the plan was to add 2.5 to that final deadlift. Had the second one gone well, it did. She put it on. She got the 500. She was absolutely stoked with that. And yeah, she got what she wanted out of this meet.
Yep.
And I think like a lot of people might look at this and go, oh, she just needed 3 more kilos for the win. But like that wasn't what her goal was. Her goal was to come in and hit 500 at her last ever nationals, sort of with the highest standard, I guess. It's a bit different doing it in a local comp. You don't have the same sort of scrutiny of refereeing and stuff like that. So she was able to tick off her biggest goal. Abby was able to tick off her biggest goal, which was win, qualify for Worlds, knock off a few records, and then sort of move on to Worlds, which I'm hoping she does do.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I saw her saying how many weeks out, like 13 weeks out. So she's on, and she's going to be amazing on the world stage. Like to see her progress so much was really, really cool. I think Shay had an awesome performance. It was kind of wild that it came down to like a 502 total, considering that context, because like it was the one increment where you would sort of almost have that view where, like you said, Shay had her goal 500. Completely respect that. But it being 502.5 was just like a, of course, moment, you know? If she didn't land on 500, she didn't land on 497, she didn't land 502.5. The only more agonizing result would have been 500.5.
Yeah, exactly.
That would have been like the only, more sort of like whatever moment, So, yeah, like you said, I'm really happy in the sense that, for Shay, is that for her? I think she said it's her last nationals, so she may compete again in some capacity, but she's closing that chapter. And I think it's quite a cool hand of the baton, so to speak, where she can hit a 500, have the day she wanted to have, close that chapter in a really nice positive way, and then this new lifter, newcomer to 63, has made this tremendous improvement, gone past Shay by just 2.5 kilos, and taken the win, and off she goes. I think that's something really nice about that.
And Shay put on a story that someone at the gym left 500 balloons, like not 500 balloons, but a 5 and two zeros in the gym for her when she got back to work on Tuesday or whenever it was. Yeah. So obviously it meant so much more to her to achieve that number than anything else.
Yeah.
So congrats to Shay. Congrats to Abby.
Yeah, and just quickly shout on Abby. Abby scored at 190.5, which was remarkable. She looked like she was very comfortable with that squat. It was a really well-picked attempt with probably a few kilos left.
Yep.
She also bench pressed 117, also a record, and she did beautifully. And again, this was a situation where she took chips where they were available. It just so happened that the 2 kilo chip sort of nullified the chip advantage in a sense, which may or may not have been intentional, might be something that's reflected upon, because obviously when you're trying to gain an advantage from taking chips with national records, the idea is to have some kind of increment that's a bit funny, like not a 2.5 increment, which forces the other lifter to have to take an extra 2.5 increment.
So her second bench was 115.5. So they only went 1.5 jump. So it was probably like, hey, this is all we have today.
That's what I think as well. And in the grand scheme as well, when it comes down to it, Shay is the bigger deadlifter, and that was a deadlift record, if I'm not wrong.
It was.
So when you're picking like chips as someone who's getting them in the subtotal and you're pretty confident that someone's going to be able to chip in the deadlift, it can be a little bit less important. I mean, that person can miss their third, so it can matter like what you're asking them to do. And as we've discussed, every half kilo or kilo is more weight on the bar. So it comes down as well to like how accurate do you think you are at picking attempts? Like I think that for bench press, if it's a kilo or two, I think you can be pretty accurate with that choice. I think when people go, second attempt 180 and then like 196 because I know this person has exactly 196, maybe is a bit of a stretch, but it's maybe like, I'm chipping because I know they have 197.5. That's fair. And then I'm going to just chips just under that, because it's a strategic benefit. So, look, I think you're probably right. The second to the third jump there was probably more of just, hey, let's get more kilos here. It matters little, where we actually end up with the chips. And it ended up being a really good pick. So that was awesome. And then a 195 deadlift to end up on the 502, which also looked very clean. And I'm fairly sure I chatted with Abby's coach, and he was sort of saying they switched to conventional 5 weeks out. Which was,
I didn't know that. Okay, interesting.
Yeah. So that was from a perspective of consistency. They were not happy with the top end consistency and the top end performances of the sumo. Sometimes it was really great, sometimes it was not. And she must have had some history pulling conventional. You're not going to change to conventional 5 weeks out without even having a touch of it. So they changed. It paid off. They found that it was a lot more consistent at the top end, and then came away with that 195 deadlift, which was excellent.
Yeah, I think she had 5 in that as well.
Yeah. So, hopefully we can see some extensions on this at Worlds. Even just replicating something similar, I think would be remarkable. I think people underrate how impressive it is and how difficult it is to replicate a national level performance that is such a huge improvement like that, relatively locally. And then doing it over like somewhere like, traveling to Germany, for instance, which is where Opens is. To do that again would be just as impressive, if not more impressive. To add any kilos to it, I mean, she's on a wave, 40 something, I think you said it was. So it's not beyond, a reasonable imagination that she's going to add kilos to that.
I also think that Abby is a bit of a dog.
She's a dog.
Like she's not going to let hearing people like, World's performance is going to drop. No. She's going to not let that affect her.
Clearly.
She's going to go she's going to go in and like she's going to attack it just like any comp.
She'll attack it.
I do think she'll improve on this.
I would if I was a betting man, I would say that, which I'm not. I would say she would increase on the total. All I'm saying is I'd be impressed if she was able to go around the same total at Worlds. I'd be like, that's sick, you know, because there are factors, and I think you're right. She has that mentality where she's going to, they're going to get it done. She'd come in and do 5:15, 5:20. You never know, right? Like it's 13 weeks, and she's clearly got the momentum. She's just started focusing on conventional, and she looked like she could have pulled 2. Maybe she comes through and she can pull something more like what Shay pulled. You never know. So very excited about that.
So Kelly versus Angelica for third place was cool.
Yeah.
So I had a chat with Kelly. She had a bit of a rib injury a few weeks. I think it was 2 weeks out, which really affected her training, all 3 lifts. So she was a little bit under where she wanted to be in this comp, and I think she was actually quite disappointed with her performance. But like we said before, that's sport. That's what happens. You know, people turn up well, people don't turn up for whatever reason there is. And Angelica was able to come in and chip her on her final deadlift and force Kelly to lift something she couldn't lift. And she was able to get the bronze medal.
Yeah, so the way the deadlift played out looks like Kelly missed a second deadlift. Did you catch that?
I didn't.
Right. So yeah, we had a 9 for 9 day from Angelica, which ended up with the 422. And then we had that's a very interesting kind of final moment with the deadlifts where it was a 170 make from Kelly, a 180 miss that would have put it at 420, and then a retake of that for 420, and then obviously Angelica having the advantage of the deadlift. So that is a very interesting situation, and like you said, that injury must have played on the deadlift because, you know, starting at 170, you know, you're not shooting for 180.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
But yeah, look, phenomenal effort by all of these ladies. Very exciting up the top with Abby and Shay, and a lot of things to be happy about for both those women. And yeah, as always, very, very good to see each of these classes heating up. Pardon me. Okay, what's the next weight class? 83?
83s, yep.
All right, 83. So this one was like very different to my expectation.
Really?
In terms of where the totals ended up.
Okay. But I think we kind of had it right in that there would be...
Oh, the way we rated it in terms of rankings was spot on.
So we sort of said, you know, Nathan and Kanan will be 1 and 2 in some order. And then there was sort of 2 or 3 guys in the running for that third place. And then there was sort of a bunch of guys who would be around 730, 750.
Yep.
So Tanis had a really good day. 788, just below what he did in his qualifier, only missing his final deadlift. I know he said on his posts, and I spoke to him a little bit before, he said, I don't care what wins, whether it's 785 or 820, as long as I win. So I guess he ticked that box and he'll walk away with that win. I know Kana was not happy with his performance, missing his final squats and benches. I think just a little overzealous with the attempt selection, just a little bit too much on the bar, to be honest. I do think he had the strength for 800. He just wasn't able to select the right numbers. And then coming in third, we had Kevin Lee, who was outstanding.
Extremely impressive.
And extremely, extremely impressive. Putting, I think, 30 on his last total. Yeah, 32 and a half on his last total. And even missing a final deadlift as well. So, you know, potentially a little bit more strength there.
Yeah, the 320 from memory didn't look close.
No, it wasn't.
But that can be the reality of, like, the top end of sumo. He might have had just a bit shy of that. You never know. And I think he had pulled 320 quite convincingly in training. He'd, like, posted a bit of his training after the comp, which I always find that interesting. Someone, like, doesn't post beforehand because they want to be a bit of that dark horse, and they're like, see, this is what I did. Which is, like, fair game. It's just, like, a new thing I'm starting to see. But he was super impressive, not only from a strength perspective, but execution. I know I think he posted about missing 177 the last couple of comps on bench, and then he blew that up, and then he blew up 182 as well, which is very promising. I mean, he could be benching 190 very soon and really surging up towards that 800 mark and being competitive with the likes of Tanis and Kana. Now, I do expect Tanis and Kana to move beyond 800, but the point is, Kevin's very impressive. He's moving forward at a very fast rate. He's a high-quality lifter. He's clearly doing the work, and they've got the right things going on in training. And 767.5 is a huge total.
He's also extremely committed to all of the stuff outside of training. His diet, his stress management, how much workload he does. All of those little things that add up, he's doing all of them.
Yeah. The reason I was surprised was more so just where the totals ended up. So I had that, I guess, more optimistic top end mindset that I wanted to see Tanis put kilos on the 800, and then I expected that Kana would be just like closely on his tail. And the way it kind of played out was just like very interesting in the sense that, you know, we see this, I think, often where the expectation is the total. Well, sorry, smack that mic. The expectation is that the total is going to be so high. And so someone reaches, which is kind of what Kana was doing. And in theory, had he just like done a similar performance to SPD Cup, he would have actually been in a better position.
Yes.
And then for Tanis, I think he adapted quite well. So his second squat wasn't great for him, I know, and that's reflected in his jump. And then he smoked the 308, and he was like, he got like a quarter of the way out of the hole, and he was just celebrating already.
Yeah.
He was like, there it is. So he looked like he had more like what I expected him to go for, and his jumps would indicate that he was probably going to go for more like 315. Mm-hmm. He went 282 to 302, and then 308. You know, so he was just like chilling it to be like, I need some kilos here. Let me just cook a bit, and then his bench press flew. I wonder whether the reflection on that in the last couple of comps is like, I'm really leaving kilos there, or there's a strategy there, or if there's a reason that he's maybe not.
I think he
up.
may have seen Kana miss his third squat and say, you know, all I need is this.
Chill it out a little bit. Yeah, that may well have been the case. And then, you know, Kana missing his 17 kilo jump on squat and then a 7.5 kilo jump. There may have been, let's just be concerned, there may have been like 12 and 5 there or something like that. That really would have changed things. And then, yeah, look, you know, 307 for the second deadlift for Tanis, 316 then for Kana, which meant that Tanis had won at that point, and then came out for 320. I guess that's what he believed he had.
So I was talking to John, and at that point, because Kana had missed his third squat and bench, they were kind of just trying to hold off second. And they were kind of almost expecting Tanis to make his third attempt and just kind of let's hold off second. But I think the way that 316 moved, how far behind was he? 4.5 behind.
Yeah, 4.5 because he had body weight.
321 or 320.5
was a chance.
Like, I think would have been a really good chance. But I think at that point in time also, like, they weren't really considering we can win.
I think as well that had Kana done that, it, you know, would have also been a strategic push where Tanis would have been pushed up past that, right? And he missed 320.
But perhaps Tanis would have just put in 315 first, seen Kana's change, dropped him down to 315.
Yeah, that's what I would expect.
Tanis comes in and makes, and
that's
then
what I would
almost
expect.
Forces Kana to do 330.
He would have put 7.5 on it, and made him pull up at 320s or something like that. I do expect that would have been the strategy. Yeah. So you can look at the score there and be like, wow, that's so much closer. But if it had played out in a realistic way like that, it's still likely that it would have ended up something like this.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe just like a smaller gap, like a half kilo or something like that.
And then, so Kevin missed his final pull, 320, which left the door semi-open for Potts to come in and try and take the bronze, which was 345, which was just, to be honest, like crazy to see that number written down on the score sheet.
What do you reckon he had, having watched that and the 315.5?
Maybe 335?
Yeah. Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Somewhere in the
315
somewhere in the 330s, yeah.
315 was awesome.
So yeah, Potsy had a great day. He performed really, really well, and you know, it would have been nice to have seen him just make a third deadlift and get somewhere into the 750s and just be content with his day. I know he was happy with how subtotal went, but I think he was a little bit sour that he had to pull more than he had to again.
Yeah.
And you know, he said he's just going to keep working, and he's hoping to get one of the regional invite spots for either Japan or New Zealand later this year.
Yep.
So it'll be cool to see if he can sort of put it all together at one of those, or maybe it's SPD Cup, or you know, whatever comp he decides to do this year.
And then really have to speak on my boy James Lee, who had a 9 for 9 day and a PR total, going way under his best on squat, but pulling a 307.5 deadlift.
Yeah, that was nuts.
Which was one of the coolest moments for me watching. And yeah, ending up with 755. He's been through the wars with his body, and to see him hit that kind of total way under his abilities on the squat shows that he can be a contender, I think, in the future. And we've said that about many of the men here in this weight class that there are several of these contenders here who can make progress, have a wave of momentum, and all of a sudden be in the top 4 or 5. You know what I mean? So for James to end up there on 4th was probably like my pleasant surprise moment of the 83s, where I expected him to come in and have a good day, but it was a little bit unknown. He'd been away for 6 weeks. I now know he has been absolutely the opposite of healthy this prep in terms of the body. And he still managed with whatever his support circle looks like. I know Hugo's coaching him, whoever's helping him from a practitioner lens. He was able to come through and not just have a good day, but have a great day, which was really, really impressive. So this weight class definitely didn't disappoint.
And so much depth as well. Like 10th place was 700.
That's right.
Eighth place was 722.5.
Yeah, we were wondering how many would go over 700.
And like so many of these guys had really good days.
Joey.
Bren had a really good day. Raz had a really good day. Joey, Tish, like awesome level of execution and sort of competitiveness, like all the way down to 10th, 11th place is like so cool to see. And so many of these guys, having been in the sport for 5+ years, still making progress and still sort of pushing their way up. And yeah, the 83s is like similar to the 74s that I said earlier. It's always been super competitive in Australia, and it's sort of, I guess, because so many people sort of sit in that weight range. But yeah, super exciting class, and really excited to see where it all goes in the future.
Yeah, really good.
All right, moving on, the 69 kg women. Now, I was refereeing this session, so I didn't have a good understanding of what was going on with the scoreboard. So it might be best. Oh, you were competing in this session, so you probably didn't have a very good understanding of what was going on with the scoreboard either.
I had zero idea. I was very in my own zone.
So the winner was Aislinn. Second place, Alexandra Bonner. Leanne Derrick in 3rd. Naomi in 4th. Julianne in 5th. Those top 5 were sort of separated from the rest. Aislinn had a really good day on squats and a really good day on deadlifts. She was able to take the squat record of 186, which actually moved, quite nicely. I know she did 190 in training, but I think it was smart to sort of pull that down. I presume with a weight cut plus with comp standards and all of that kind of stuff.
I did actually watch that one maybe afterwards. I think it was a pretty perfect pick.
It was great.
She worked hard for it.
It was really good.
But I think it was a great pick.
And it was exactly 0.5 more than what Brittany did here, SPD Cup.
Yep.
Bench, obviously, for Aislinn didn't quite go to plan, missing her 2nd and 3rd attempts at 90. But it didn't matter in the end. She won quite convincingly, deadlifting 205 on her 3rd for 476. So the winner of the 69 last year did 460. And this year we had the top 2 do 460.
And Leanne go just under.
And Leanne do 457.5. So second place was Alexandra Bonner. She had a really good day. It looked like she was laboring a bit during the day, particularly during deadlifts. Like after she'd put the bar down, she'd almost like kind of wince and like be really stiff and be unable to move through her back. And
wasn't that exactly the same thing that happened last year?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what happened. I haven't spoken to her or Brad or her coach at all about what happened, but it seemed like she was able to just execute regardless and then kind of just deal with the consequences at the end. So she had an 8 for 9 day, 175 on squat, 92.5 on bench, 192.5 on deadlift.
I think I recall that being a thing at a previous comp. I'm not sure if it was last nationals, but I do remember that being a thing of like this soreness after the attempt of something that was maybe injured or something like that. So maybe she's living with something there that she's managing ongoing.
Yeah.
But yeah, did very, very well in light of that and just had a really great day with a 460 total.
Yeah, so she was able to pull ahead of Leanne on her final pull and force Leanne to make her 3rd, which Leanne was unable to do. She actually got 2 red lights for lockout. I was the white light, so I thought it was okay, but the other 2 refs didn't quite think she had her shoulders locked out. But Leanne had a really good day as well. We spoke about her on the preview show, sort of being able to outperform what the qualifying total was, which was 437.5 is what she did as her qualifier. She was able to put 20 kilos on that, as well as missing a few lifts during the day. She had a 5 for 9 day. So it shows that the top end strength is probably sort of in that 470 area. If she can sort of maybe execute a little better,
And Leanne,
pick attempts a little bit better. But yeah, she looked really, really strong and really impressive the whole day.
Leanne needed 195, I think. So she, Alexandra had body weight and ended up 2.5 kilos ahead on total. So 195 was what was needed to pull ahead to get 462.5. So I do wonder what the decision-making sort of process was with that, considering Alexandra had also pulled 192, so she could have pulled 195 straight after it and kind of just take what was needed. Possibly some personal goals there, or just belief that was there.
Perhaps regional QT, I'm not entirely
Yeah,
sure.
there may have been some other decisions going into it. But yeah, really good to see all three ladies show up well. I know from Leanne's recap, she was happy because I think she's overcome a lot in her powerlifting journey to kind of return and kind of progress in this way, but also knows that there's a lot on the table to take, and that training was certainly looking better than where she ended up on the day. So I certainly hope to see that come into fruition, the high 400s, even 500, if you can really pull that together. I think it's very exciting to see a number of women here, really looking at that 500 as a realistic place. And have to mention, really sad to not see Britt in the mix. Obviously, she was there being a great sport over the weekend, did some bench pressing. I think she benched 117.5
She benched 115, attempted
just missed 120, which is pretty remarkable.
Yeah,
I've been seeing a lot on her stories how this injury seems to be a little bit of a jigsaw at the moment. Maybe some misdiagnoses and things like that. So hopefully she can get on top of that. And we're going to see her back to her best soon, because the 69 class, is heating up.
They're coming for her.
It's heating up.
She's got a bit of a target on her now.
That's it. I hope you hear this, Britt, because I want to just encourage you to just get straight back into it and be you. At the end of the day, you're a formidable competitor, and all these women are formidable competitors. And this time next year for 69s, I want to see,
and
520s, 530s.
Britt's like, man, she's fierce.
She's a doll.
Doesn't give up.
She great chats with Britt.
She gives fucking everything to it. Yeah. And as soon as she's right from this injury, whenever that is, hopefully very soon, she's going to be right back in the lab and fucking pushing herself hard.
She's got the right mindset for her. Like, she's been able to go through that process of dealing with it emotionally, which is very important. She's got the education to work with injury, and she's going to be able to be on top of that. And then, she's good for it once she's healthy. So, yeah, it was a shame not to see that, because I think that could have changed dynamics, or would have definitely changed dynamics in many ways. When you look at her 501, right, as we expected on the preview, would have still, if she was able to replicate that performance, would have put her in very, very good stead. But I do see the rise of the other women in the weight class being an overwhelming positive for not just the women who were able to compete in the end, but also for Britt.
Totally.
We've seen it in other weight classes. It only causes the tide to keep on rising. And we continue to comment that, and we continue to see it. And it's exactly what we need. We need all these levers to continue to push everyone, whether it's competitors, whether it's QTs, whether it's the quality of the nationals, whether it's opportunities, all these different things. At the local level, we've got this new competition coming out soon. It's going to be more of that sort of like intermediate level. All these things that funnel and funnel and funnel, and we see the standard continue to rise. Some of the things about the GL points, how many people achieve those, the records that were broken, right? These are the kinds of things that we want to see happen, and there are numerous levers that get pulled that help the standard to keep on rising. So, yeah, very inspiring to see everyone do so well. This weight class was particularly special.
Yeah, the other woman I want to shout out from here is Naomi. So she was nominated towards the bottom. She put 42.5 kilos on her total and was able to get 4th place. So she finished with 440. Her nominated total was 397.5. So I just wanted to shout out her because we didn't mention her on the preview show. That much improvement in the short time, like definitely one to watch. Another one of the girls out of MD Strength as well. So Aislinn, Leanne, and Naomi all out of MD Strength, pushing each other to get better. It's just fucking awesome to see.
You know where I'm training if I'm in Vic? Go on, just listen.
Go and drink whatever's in the water.
Yeah, just go and just like fill up my bottle from the bubbler.
Just take
that home.
Take several liters of water bottles so you can take it home with you.
Yeah, and just freeze little ice cubes, put them in the freezer, and then every day, just put a little ice cube in my
MD water. MD for MB. All right, moving on. 93 kg men.
Okay.
Now, this one was really fun.
Yeah, 93 was cool.
We had Adam Jones taking out the win with 810 kilos.
First time going past 810 for the boy in this weight class. I think
Yep.
he's...
We had Josh Takua in second with 795. Chahade in third with 790. And
Sorry, is that the first ever? 93? Past 800?
in Australia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty sure it is. Yeah. Just noting it.
I'm pretty sure the Oh, no. Takua did 806.
Oh, I did too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I did too. Sorry.
But this
Sorry,
was
Josh.
this was a
Sorry, Josh.
this was a obviously national record total.
True. Yep.
So yeah, Jones 810, Takua 745 at 95, Chahade 790, Caruso 783. So I think let's start with Jonesy.
Let's mention Callan and Lennox too, because they're quite, and even Dean. Callan 772, Lennox 767 from the B group, and then Dean 755.
Yep.
And I forgot to mention Lennox. I seen all his shit during training, and then we finished the podcast, and I was like, I didn't mention Lennox, but actually it was probably not a bad thing because he was a mad dark horse.
Yeah, he was lifting in the B group, and he was miles ahead of everyone else in the B
Yeah,
group.
you
And
texted me.
I came up to you and I said, "Bro, Lennox is gonna finish in the top 5
You
or 6."
text me, you're like, bro, he's gonna hit like 750 and it's open at dev. I was like, yeah, I know. I forgot to mention him on the podcast. I literally saw him the next day, and I literally like had that moment, that so Raven moment where I was like, I was like, dude, I didn't even mention you on the podcast. I was like, don't worry, intentional.
Yeah, trying to fire him up.
Yeah. So this was a great weight class. Adam Jones had a phenomenal day, 9 for 9, and he managed a 307.5 squat, 170 bench press, and 332.5 deadlift. He did end up a little lower than what I expected in terms of how his training was looking. He looked like he was going to come in and be good for like 315, 175, and potentially up to like 340. That was just from what I saw. Now, do I think that he sort of pulled down for the day at all? No, I think he actually just made really good attempt selections. I know his 302 squat didn't look like his best execution. You and I think, were sitting together, and I was like, you watch. Jones is that guy who's just going to come out, hit his spot on the third, and blow it up. It's exactly what he did.
Yeah,
His 307 was really, really nice.
I asked him about it. He said he didn't have the bar in the right spot on the 302.
Okay.
And then he sort of got it in the right
There you
spot
go.
and absolutely
Yep.
smoked the 307.
His bench, I think, was a pretty solid PR.
Yeah, 7.5.
And yeah, so that's sick. And I think that's one of those situations where perhaps I looked at his bench in training and I was like, oh, he'll go above that. Whereas in reality, he solidified it, and it was a really good attempt selection. He didn't have a lot more. Sorry, I keep burping. I'm just having a monster. I should just do it full blown into the mic.
You can if you like.
Hey, there's a market for it. And then the deadlift with 332.5. Again, it was pretty much the perfect selection. There was not a skerrick in that. And then, yeah, pretty much put it into a position where he put it in Josh's court. Josh had the option to go to 332.5 for the final deadlift. So for context, Adam and Josh were tied on subtotal. Simon was behind by some 40 kilos or 30?
27.5.
37, sorry.
20,
40. That was the 120s. Had a sizable gap there. And so the situation here was that Josh had the higher lot number and he had lower body weight. So he was in the position with Adam where he could equal Adam's deadlift, go after him as well, and he would temporarily have first.
Go into the lead, yep.
He decided to take 337.5. I know that Josh didn't have someone game day coaching him, which may have played into that choice. He did end up missing it, looked like by about 2 or 5 kilos.
Man, it was close. Just his hands couldn't hold it.
It was very, very close. And again, I think it comes down to sometimes with Josh, his overall execution and position. Such a big boy and such a big deadlift that the smallest thing can bring it undone. I actually think his deadlifts looked far better in the opener and the second than I have seen from him in recent history of recent performances. So the SBD Cup performance where he pulled 327, I think.
29.
329. Dude, your numbers memory is insane. I think he looked better in the opener and the second than he was looking on that day. So I was expecting him to have just a little bit more, and just a little bit more is what he needed. So that choice, be it what it is, was something that put him out of that running, so to speak, or would have potentially given the opportunity to have temporarily held first place. As it played out, Simon then tried to pull 360 to take the win. We knew that Simon was going to load for the win no matter what. I do want to speak on Simon a little bit. I've given credit to Adam. I think Josh also had a good day. He dropped some kilos on the squat, which was surprising. And I know he pulled his plan back to try and achieve depth and everything. And then he was called for 300 on depth. So had he got that, different again, right? But Adam executed. Simon, think about this. Simon missed his third squat on depth, and he got it on strength. And then he missed a 5 kilo jump like rapidly on call, like so far before the press call. He knew. He was just like,
everyone in the building knew.
Bro, he was shaking he was like, man.
Shit.
And it was not a hard bench press. So we're talking, and he's 285. Looked like had he gotten to depth, he was good for it in terms of strength. It looked like it was like the ceiling and he cut it. So we're talking 12 kilos there, right? Off of a 360 attempt, which is more like 347. We all saw his 340. Crazy, right? He really looked incredibly strong.
It goes back to something that, we harp on all the time when we have discussions about competitions. And it's who can execute puts themselves in such a better position to win. Because when you pick up kilos, you gradually just grow on your total.
And
Josh missed out on 12.5 on squat. And if he needed to pull 12.5 less, he would have got it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Simon. He missed out on 7.5 on squat, 5 on bench. If he needed, if he had those kilos, he probably would have won.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like this is, and I want to say this because sometimes people take this as a knock. This is not to knock on Adam. Adam executed and won. Credit.
No, exactly. That's exactly what I mean.
But who was the strongest on the day? Probably Simon. Then probably Josh.
No, probably Josh.
Josh or Simon. I mean, I think had Simon gotten those 2 attempts, I'm calling Simon.
Okay,
personally,
let's do the maths. 337 from Josh means that Simon needs 365. And then you add 12.5 on Josh's squat, means Simon's needs 377.5.
So let's look at what Josh could have gotten. So let's say 332. Let's say he could have gotten that. Now let's say he did get his squat.
Uh-huh.
We're talking plus 17.5.
Uh-huh.
And then we look at Simon missing 17.5 on subtotal.
12.5.
12.5. And then what, could have pulled 350?
Yeah, probably.
Right?
Yeah.
So I actually put Simon.
It's crazy how close it ended up being. And it just came down to Jonesy won because Jonesy executed.
Yeah, and the point is, right, like at the end of the day, that's just like a comment. Like I'm just saying like this speaks to what we always say. That's just all I'm saying is like it's rarely a case of, and we had a lot of the guys who support Simon and his friend circle saying nomination totals don't mean shit. Hey,
they're right.
They're right. They're absolutely right. And we think that too. And all you can go off is the nominated totals and previous performances. But when it comes down to it, when you come in, nominated totals mean jack, but then also like your strength. So when I say that, who was the strongest? That means jack too. Yeah? White lights mean something. Executed lifts mean something. And who did it? Jonesy. So who was the best power lifter? Jonesy.
Yeah, the strongest lifter doesn't always win. The best lifter wins.
Best lifter wins. And that's just, again, full credit to the boys. Full credit to Jonesy for coming in extremely strong, similarly strong to the other two, but executed when it mattered and got the right total. So that's really impressive. And to see someone who's like seasoned in the sport, you would expect no less. Yeah. So massive kudos to Jonesy there. But it was also great to see the other two really have a crack.
Yeah.
And really three guys very capable of 800.
And Caruso, I think, is really worth mentioning.
100%.
So he squatted 290, smoked it, went up to 305, missed on depth, but I thought was pretty harsh. I thought the squat looked great. So he gave up 15 kilos there.
I do think that the wide squat
yeah.
can look really good from the front and it can look high from the sides. Yeah. I used to squat about that same width and it was something that I definitely had some issues with.
We obviously saw it from the crowd, so
It looks really like I saw it from the front and I thought,
great.
oh, he's got that. And then I think was it 2 reds?
Yeah, it was 2 reds.
Yeah. So I think that's a classic symptom of the wide
so anyway,
stance.
so he gave up 15 on the squat. He was able to hit the bench record 193, and then he missed his last deadlift on grip, 312 and a half. So he gave up, probably 25 kilos, 27.5 kilos on his total from, very, very close misses.
We were calling that too.
And that means, his total may seem quite a bit lower than what Jonesy did, but I think he's a real contender next year.
Yeah.
And I think all 4 of these guys are real contenders next year. Really, really exciting class.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I've said, I mean, full credit to all these guys for coming in and having really excellent days relatively. But again, just sheds light on all the things we say about attempt selection, all the things we say about pacing your day and doing what's needed. And that was a classic example of that. And I do want to also just mention Callan with a 772. I know he's chatted about potentially going up to the 105s. Having missed all his thirds on this day was probably a little bit discouraging. There's probably 2 avenues there. He was an 83.
He actually didn't come out for his third bench. He just
I remember that.
timed
Yeah.
out. Yep.
Still missed though. I think there's a couple of avenues there. I recall him being an 83, maybe
He was
5 years ago.
2017, I competed against him.
Yeah.
In Singapore.
So more like 8 years ago. He's been a 93 for a period of time now. He's a pretty tall guy.
He's tall, yeah.
So I could definitely see a justification for going to the 105s. And even if it's just for from a mental health perspective, just to kind of like progress again. I don't think he's not progressing, to be honest with you. I think that days like this, man, honestly, going 6 for 9 and going 772 is like pretty impressive.
His second
Very
best
impressive.
total ever.
Yeah, and at Night of Champions was like 782. So I do think that he's actually moving forward, and I don't think it would be unexpected to see him go through more surges of progress given time. Who knows what the back end variables are looking like? Who knows what could be improved? But I mean, it is at that fork, where it's like, do I go 105s or do I give it a bit more time and see if I can keep moving forward into the 800s as a 93? And then Lennox is, I'm going to say it now, Lennox is one of my favorites for next year's Nationals. He is progressing at an insane rate. He weighed 88 kilos. He squatted 297, bench 177, and pulled 292, very narrowly missing 305 on grip, which would have been an additional 12.5 kilos, so 780. And his lifting is just, and he is one of the most like to standard controlled lifters I have ever seen, particularly his squat. Guy just walks into the gym. So I'm going to gas up Lance because I didn't mention him in the pre. I just walk into the gym. Guys like 270 on the bar. He's not talking to like anyone because he's so focused. Gets no spotters or anything. It's a warm up. And he'll just get under it like it's 70 and just walk it out like it's 70 and just move through the squat at like this nice cadence. And I'm like, cool, man. Like just mog everyone here. So I think he's someone who, when he's 93, 94 kilos, he's going to be squatting 310. He's going to be benching 190. He's going to be pulling 320. He's going to be in that conversation for sure. So that's my call for next year. Lennox is going to be a massive shooter for the 93s.
And final shout out to Big Dean, the craziest deadlift. Just comes up to it and bends over and yanks it.
Yeah, it does a bit of a roll as well.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. His deadlift is crazy good. Isn't it crazy that of the podium lifters, the first deadlifter in the third round of the podium guys was 332 and a half.
Yeah.
Isn't that insane?
It's insane.
That's so insane.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to have to fucking get a bit of a move on. We're going way too slow. No. Shut up, Chris. All right. Moving on. 76 kg women. First place, Shania Radke, 490.5. Second place, Hannah Altman, 480. Third place, Young, 467.5. So those three were like quite a little bit ahead of the rest. Now we'll start with Shania. Came out, squat record on a third, blew it up.
Awesome.
Incredible squat, 193. Probably had a bit of room. I think the second was like not as well executed as the third. I think she executed the third perfectly. But yeah, fantastic squatting from Shania. She went 2 for 3 on bench with 92.5. Wait, is that right? Or should she go 1?
2.
2 for 3 on bench with 92.5. She locked in the win on her second deadlift, 205. And then she went for the world's QT on the final deadlift to 24.5, which wasn't particularly close. But she's showing how much progress she's made. Sort of every meet, she's just better. And yeah, really excited to see her sort of push above 500 by the next time she competes.
I mean, she put like 10 on that squat since SPD.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Put 10 on her squat since SPD Cup. She's added to her bench. She had more room in deadlift, but they went for the QT, so she's definitely added to her deadlift as well.
Yep.
So yeah, super impressive performance from Shania. Second place was Hannah Altman. Really impressed with Hannah as well. We spoke about her in the previous show about how she's sort of been at that 470 mark a few years ago and been unable to get back there. And I'm not entirely sure why. And deciding to go up to the 76 class was, I think, a really good decision for her. And she's put 10 kilos on her best total here with a missed all of her thirds and still adding to her total. I think the third squat was on depth, and I remember it being very, very close. The third deadlift was a little bit of a Hail Mary to go ahead of Shania, which it was actually really close as well. It was
extremely close.
And the bench was just a small jump. So she was able to take the bench press record. But there's room in the tank there on the squat and on the deadlift, which is really, really exciting for Hannah because it's just cool to see her back to, what we thought she could be. And just growing and growing and growing, getting better. And, just like Shania, it will be really awesome to see her break over the 500 kilo mark.
Absolutely. And then speaking on Jung squatted 180, went 3 from 3, benched 95, missing a 92.5 on the second, kind of ignored that and kept moving. Went to 95 anyways and got it. And then went 180, 192, and then tried for 207.5, which was a 15 kilo jump on the final deadlift, which again would have
put her in front of Hannah.
And that would have changed the optics of Hannah's choices. Actually, that was after Hannah. So
it was after Hannah, yeah.
That would have definitely put her in a second. And Jung's pull was not close, was it? The 207. It was.
I actually don't remember.
I don't think it came off the floor. But she was looking really strong. Like I wouldn't have been surprised to see her pull 2, but that's 7.5 kilos too heavy. And I think fair game. You're at nationals. That's what you do. Loading for placing is exactly the right choice, especially when the placing is protected. There's really nothing to lose there.
Yep. And so to put on 5 kilos on a total after despite that miss, but also after the prep she had, I spoke to her about how busy she was and how much stuff she's got going on.
Absolutely.
So really, really good stuff from Jung, and obviously still a young lifter. I think this is her first comp out of juniors.
Okay.
So she's going to be one to watch, sort of moving towards the top of the 76 class.
Yep. Definitely. No, it's really good to see, like you said, Hannah come through and do more like her potential. I know she would be reflecting on a couple of those misses, knowing that there's even more there. I mean, realistically, with some of those misses, something closer to 500 is there.
Yeah, totally.
And so she's continuing to realize that, which is great. I think 76s definitely look like the class for her. But then, like you said as well, with Shania, definitely kilos on the table there between that second and third, undoubtedly. And we'll see her take that soon. But yeah, fierce competitors in this weight class. Was a very, very fun weight class to watch.
Yeah.
I particularly enjoy watching Shania compete. I think she's a great competitor.
She's got some dog.
But of course, really enjoyed watching Hannah, Jung, and all the other 76 kilo women as well. So it was a very, very good weight class. And the win was 490.5 for Shania, second 480 for Hannah, and third 467.5 for Jung.
So moving on, 105 men. We had a top 5 above 800. So Hung 854, Michael Rand 827.5, Anthony Hill 827.5, Samuel Forsberg 825, Tom Chaplin 815. You obviously competed in this session, Matty.
Yep.
I'll let you take the reins on this one.
Yeah, so I was pretty locked in on my own day, but I've gone back and sort of watched a lot of it, and I did sort of watch some of the live stream in the back room throughout the day, and I was keeping up with things relatively. So we look at Hung, pretty much had a flawless day, except for I think beating a command on his first squat.
Opening squat, yeah, beat the rack.
So ended up with a nice improvement on his squat with 312, I think an equal bench at 187, and then what he needed on the deadlift, which looks like looks like quite a sizable lead, but ultimately that comes from people attempting and missing to go past. But yeah, he was ultimately just undeniably too strong for anyone to really challenge him. And he also pulled together a really well executed day. So I think full credit to Hung there for showing out and really showcasing his experience, showcasing that, you know, he's a very, very strong competitor, and that, yeah, a lot of these guys who were competing with him had sort of mixed days. Some of them had better days than others, but that ultimately he is going to be a hard person to beat in the 105s, and he's shown consistent performances only a few months back to back from each other. So winning SBD, I mean, he's had a pretty stellar run, SBD winner and then Nationals winner, and now hopefully he goes to Worlds. A lot of us are trying to convince him to go. He was initially a bit tentative. He's just chill like that though. He's like, oh, I don't know if I'll go, you know, and
I think he will.
I think he will too. Yeah. He went from like 50-50 to like 90-10 within like a minute of chatting to him. So that was cool.
The other thing about Hung's performance was that he pretty much maxed out his day as well. Like he pretty much had the best day he could have had in
Maybe
terms of what he
bench.
had on the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he had another 2.5
Bench
on
had
bench.
some room, but yeah,
But
squat and
that's-
deadlift.
Squat was proper grinder. Deadlift was proper grinder.
Yep.
So full credit to Hung and to the guy who's coaching him. What is his name? Is that Michael?
Yep.
Yeah. Full credit to Michael and to Hung for the selections.
Yep.
Yeah, he was outstanding.
And if we kind of talk through the other competitors in the top bunch there, Rand, he had a decent day, I would call it. He probably underperformed a little bit on his subtotal compared to what we recommended that he may need to really push Hung. We were sort of saying, you know, up toward that 310, 200 mark would probably have been necessary to be the favorite there coming into deadlifts. And that's what showed out. I mean, 351.5, which would have required Hung to push a little further, I guess, was very close. It was very, very close.
Dropped it
In the end.
very close.
Gets to a point where it looks like he just can't pull through and then drops it, is what it looks like. So I'm not sure if there's something to that. But yeah, I mean, he got very, very close on 351.5. So it didn't look quite as strong, probably, as SBD Cup. Because, I mean, he thought he had 310 on the squat at SBD Cup. He did miss it, but he was probably not far off that. Ended up with 302. Has pressed, 200, pressed 190, missed 195, and he pulled 350.5 at SBD Cup and then missed 351.5. Looked like he was good for a bit more than 350.5 SBD. So 827.5, something I'll remark is that people talk a lot about where the totals are going to end up in all different weight classes. But let's look at this. Number 2 and number 3 ended up 5 kilos above what all the guys landed on last year. 822 became 827. And one guy, Hung, smoked it. And this is what we see, I think, a lot of is like the potential for everyone to be doing 830, 840, 850, and we sort of chatted on that. But in reality, a lot of these guys ended up around the same totals as what won last year and what many of the lads ended up on last year. It's just something to remark. Anthony Hill was very impressive. I think that he's a very high-quality lifter on average, although he missed a couple of lifts. He missed one lift on technicality reasons and one lift on more strength, which is the 207. But that 207 attempt, it shows a lot of potential for the future, I think, as a bench presser. And he's a very balanced lifter. So coming through and hitting, attempting 317, 207, and 322 is a very nice balance across the lifts. He's a bit of a Tommy in my mind in terms of his balance across his total, which I think is always a good thing to have. But yeah, look, he ended up with a 305, a 200, and a 322.5. Is that correct? Yeah. With 827. So ended up third behind Michael. And I mean, he really had no choice there in his deadlift but to just pull what he thought he could. And I mean, it's somewhat of an interesting choice there. He perhaps, his deadlift looked smooth. He perhaps could have put a bit on that and actually nudged ahead of Michael there and had the second. And then, Michael would have had a choice to make. As it stands, there was no risk there for Michael. So moving on to Forsberg, reigning champion from the previous year, had a really great squat, 307.5, hit 180 on bench, kind of similar to where he's been before. And then his deadlift day was pretty interesting. His deadlift day is like arguably his weapon, and it's the one that kind of came out of the woodwork last year and has been a topic of discussion of, okay, where is he going to land? 300 for the opener looked easy enough, but he missed the down call and got 3 red lights. He then did a massive jump, 337.5, which I guess was anticipating the needs of the third, and it looked pretty tough. To my eye, he looked like he maybe had a little bit more than what he ended up pulling last year. So I would have maybe given him maybe like 350 or something like that as a top end after watching the second, and he needed 366.5, which didn't get close. I think he got it off the floor, but it was not close. So he ended up with 825. Again, left some kilos on the table there, most likely. So I expect to see some movement in the future. And then the last one I'll speak on is Tommy Chaplin. I think he was reasonably happy with his day. He's been going through a little bit of injury. He talked to me a bit about some training selections, like some load selections in prep, and him wanting to like almost humble himself a bit at the competition, like with his bench press selections. And I think he's really chuffed to see where his deadlift is at, despite not completing some of his thirds in the last couple of comps. He's showing great potential on his deadlift. So again, really, really great lift. I loved being out there with all those guys. Particularly loved hanging out with Tommy. Like, he's just great to be around back there. We were just having lots of banter and having a lot of fun with it. So that was cool. And then, yeah, I mean, look, I won't speak through their lifts, but I mean, Tom, very cool, hitting 790. Tony, 787. Brody hitting 775. Delani, 752. Steven, 742. And Josh hitting 787. A lot of love for all these guys. And it's weight class I'm in, so I want to speak to all of them. And yeah, like I said, no one actually went 800 from that group. Kind of as I expected, but great performances all round, and yeah, really fun weight class to be a part of.
Yeah, so I refereed this session, so I was up pretty close, and I think like it was actually quite clear to me once deadlift started that Hung was good for it, for the win, and it would have been interesting to me to see how things would have played out had Anthony gotten those kilos earlier in the day. So he missed his last squat. I gave him a red for depth. Raz on the other side, I don't know what his reasoning was. I think it was for soft knees, but he gave him a blue card. I'm not sure what it was for. I didn't actually end up asking him. But it was extremely close. So he was extremely, extremely close to that.
12 increase.
What was it? 307?
Yeah, 12.5 kilos.
Yeah.
317.
And then the bench press, I don't really remember what happened.
I think he just missed it.
Okay.
Yeah,
so,
pretty sure he just missed it. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure he just missed it.
Perhaps he could have taken 5 kilos there instead of 7.5. And then we're talking about this really, really differently. And the decisions that Rand makes are obviously different. Perhaps Sam pulls for a different color medal than gold towards the end if those other guys are a little higher.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it all, I think, shakes out differently if Anthony has a different day.
Yeah, I mean, Hung was still probably not in reach.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean sort of the decisions
second to fourth.
I mean sort of the decisions of Rand, the decisions of Sam. What sort of happens there if Anthony ends up getting those kilos? I think that's the interesting discussion.
I think it would have been more of a battle for
standpoint.
second there. Yeah. I imagine Sam was in that mindset of pulling for the win, which is what eventuated. And then Anthony and Michael. Like I said, I was surprised when I see this, and also when I see the deadlift that Anthony put up, that there wasn't a selection to go past Michael there on that. Whether conscious or whatever the reason for not doing that. But yeah, you're right. Like, some of the kilos that were missed there would have definitely changed that battle between Michael and Anthony. I think Michael would have been forced to look at Anthony and not just look at the win.
Yep. Yeah. And I think Anthony's the one to watch for me for the future. Where he can take this, I think, is above where Hung is now. And I'm really, really excited to see what he can do in this weight class. I know he had quite a hectic weight cut as well, so perhaps he may look at going up. Obviously, he's young. He's still a junior. I think he's 22. So he may look at going up. But, man, he is fucking strong.
Regardless, he's got a lot of potential.
He's really strong.
I keep saying how tall he is, and I sort of saw that from seeing some of his meet recaps and seeing how high like the squat rack height is, but then like being around him in the warm-up room, I was like, yeah, you're super tall, dude.
I think the same with Forsberg as well. He's quite tall.
Yeah. But I think Anthony's that little bit. Forsberg wears heels, so that can be. I mean, so does Anthony, but Forsberg has like the Romelios. But yeah, look, very, very impressive. Like you said, it could have shook down a little bit differently. I'll be interested to see whether he does keep pursuing 105s and how that goes for him. Because again, as a taller guy, he has a lot of potential, but there may come that time where he's like, this is becoming a bit more hard fought than I want. 120s is going to keep me moving. And he, of course, has huge potential in the 120s if he decides to go that way as well. It's a lot of weight. And you can just get sick of weight cutting at some point too. You know, like he did come in, like he walks in to the weigh-in area. And I like helped him out with his, he couldn't find his like membership number because he just finished probably what was a fairly grueling weight cut, red as going into the room. I was like, here, give me your phone. We had a look through, found his membership number, sorted him out. But, you know, even just that experience of coming into the competition weight cutting can get a bit tiresome. So he may even spend a little bit of time up in the 120s and then come down on occasion, you know. So I think he's a really impressive lifter. And it's one of those situations where, you know, you had Hung, you had Anthony, you had Tony, Tom, all from USAPL side come into APA, and it's just bolstered up this 105 class hugely.
That was already sick as well.
Exactly right. So yeah, very
awesome
cool.
weight class. Congrats to all those boys, and obviously one of the weight classes to keep an eye on for the future. And just with the depth and the level of talent at the top of the depth, yeah, super impressive. All right, moving on. 84 kg women. We had City Strength's own Yanni Zhao winning with 557.5. Nicola Orr in second place with 524. And then Ajwa in third place with 475. We were both coaching in this session. Coach Yanni, you were handling Ajwa for Steph. Where should we start with this one?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Yanni. Yanni had a phenomenal day, really good attempts. 210.5 was a very impressive squat with not much in it. The bench press, 128.5. I know you commented that her bench just didn't look quite as good as it did in training, but that was still a PR for her and a record. And then 218.5 for another record. So she ended up with all of the records.
Nicola took
it on the third. All the records except for the deadlift. And a 557.5 total, which is huge. So very, very impressive day from Yanni. What I'll do is I'll go straight to talking about the other two, and then we can swing back a bit. So Nicola came up with a 185 opener on squat, jumped to 192 and missed 200, just a bit too much. Had a really good benching day, made great progress there with a 112.5 bench. And then, yeah, ended up with a 219 record, which was kind of, I guess, the thing to aim for on the deadlift. She had this decision to make to either shoot for the qualifying total or, you know, I guess reclaim or claim the record. And she ended up pulling 219, which was a really good choice in the end. There wasn't much more there, and she seemed pretty thrilled with gaining that. So 524 in the end there for Nicola, which was a tremendous gain. And we were sort of commenting on Nicola to look out for her, and we were interested to see where she would land. I was wrong about the deadlift. She had clearly just posted some sumo and not switched to sumo because she ended up pulling conventional and pulling that very, very well. And then Ajwa had the opportunity to earn a third place here, and there was, you know, somewhat of a tussle between her and Rebecca for who would end up on third. And Ajwa has had a really awesome day, 9 for 9, made progress on everything, and ended up with 475. She was awesome to hang out with and did really, really well. So that's the top three. It was pretty straightforward in my mind. I think all three women did really, really well, made great progress, and showed out. And Yanni was just brutally strong.
Yeah, I was so stoked for Yanni. It's her first nationals since either 17 or 18, which was the same day she got her cancer diagnosis. So to be back there 8 years later or 7 years later and win again is just like, it's a testament to her character, but like she's such a hard worker. She's obviously super talented as well, but she's just such a bubbly and positive and optimistic person to be around all the time. And I think that really like shows up in what she's like on comp day. Like she just kind of thinks she can do anything, and she kind of always can. And yeah, I was so stoked for her and for how she performed on the day. I think things went pretty much to plan.
Yep.
You know, squat, I was sort of aiming at that between 208 and 213 was sort of where I wanted to aim, and we sort of ended up right in the middle of that. Bench press, we took the lowest planned attempt, which was just to chip the record, and she probably did have 130 or 130.5, so maybe we pick up more kilos at Worlds. And deadlift was like right on the nose, as hard as possible. So yeah,
Probably a little easier than SPD Cup.
yeah, maybe a little bit. But yeah, could not have asked for a better day from Yanni.
I was really
so stoked
flashback.
for her.
I had like a flashback to her third at SPD Cup as the weight come off the floor for this, because there was a moment where I was like, "Oh, will she get it?" And then my head like remembered the SPD Cup. I was like, "Oh, she's good for it."
Oh yeah, she'll get it.
Got to mention, it was a shame not to see Beth there
Yeah.
competing. That would have definitely changed how all this would have played out. Would have made it that bit more exciting. It definitely was a fun weight class to watch, but there was really no true battle going on.
Yeah.
So that was the only, I guess, letdown. Definitely keen to see Beth healthy and back
Yeah,
there
of course.
ASAP. She's a formidable lifter, and it'll be great to see her back in there battling for a placing.
Yeah, totally. All right, should we move on?
120s.
120 kg men.
120s, very, very exciting watch. So we had Josh come away with the win, Cody Wilkes coming in second, and Sam Butterworth coming in third. There was a sizable gap from there down to Tristan, Charles, Taj, Smisi, Daniel, William. Josh, 886, 2 kilos off Cam McKenzie's 888. And it looks like he's good for it. So I'm very excited to see Josh go past that at Wells, which I think he will.
Man, Josh was... Who did I mention as one of the most impressive performances earlier? Oh, Chris. Josh was another one. He was on that level. Like, he was flawless from the start of the day.
Josh was probably my favorite men's performance.
Yeah.
Abby Wallace would be my
Yeah.
favorite women's.
I would agree with that. Man, Josh was just, from his first squat to his last deadlift, he looked like he could lift anything that you put on the bar.
Dude. He
looked
insane.
so good. His third squat was quite easy. His third bench was quite good.
Yeah.
His third deadlift looked like it had room.
Great picks.
And
Danny was handling him.
He just like, yeah, we said this last year about Josh, and then we sort of like didn't fully back him again this year. And he said to me, "Bro, 2 years in a row you didn't pick me." And now I'm gonna fucking have to pick him next year.
I mean, I leaned towards Josh, I think, when we were chatting, because you were sort of picking the heavier deadlifter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You leant towards Josh.
Yeah.
I leant towards Sam. And I don't think I can lean towards Sam anymore, because Josh has just shown an ability to execute when it matters, an ability to just continue getting better.
Just keep picking anyone, but
And
Josh
just like,
to rile him up.
Man, I love Josh, and I'm sorry for not picking you, Josh. But fuck, he was incredible.
Yeah, he was very impressive. And I think as well, one thing that was just really good to see was he was strong, but not only that, he executed beautifully on all 9 attempts. And do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes people will sort of like do a lackluster second. It's like that second syndrome.
Second attempt syndrome,
Yeah, so what we saw was a very professional outing, and someone who, I'm almost glad. I know he was thinking about maybe going for the 888 in the mix of it all, or the 88.5 or 889 or whatever it would have ended up being. And I'm glad he didn't, because it doesn't matter. Like, Nationals is about going in and winning and securing the win. And in the priority of choices, I think he made really excellent decisions. And he's going to fly past 888.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that'll be historic, right? Because that has held, I think, since 2016.
That's right.
And Cam McKenzie hit that in Christchurch.
That's right.
And see how goes my memory. And he will fly past that, and it's about time. It's held for so long, and we've chatted on this. It's held for so long because it's an amazing total. And now we have one person who's going to go past it, and 2 others who will go past it soon too.
Yeah.
So that's Josh. We've gassed him up heaps. He killed it. He's amazing. Can't wait to see him at Worlds. Can't wait to see him break into the top 10 at Worlds. Cody Wilkes was very, very impressive.
Extremely impressive.
Wasn't a surprise, but it was nice to see him perform so well. 323 on the squat was gas. Like, you do wonder how it could have unfolded had he taken all the kilos that were possible there, because he did get quite close on that 365.5. He pulls hook grip Connie, doesn't he? It kind of came out.
I'm not sure.
I think he's hook grip Connie. It might not be, but he pulled it and it kind of got to about 3/4 of the way up, and it was just that little bit too much, and it kind of came out of the hands. So he ended up with 860.5, but he was pulling for the win. And then Sam, full credit to Sam's ability to execute throughout the day. I thought he looked really, really good. And Sam continues to build really steadily. I think it's almost a shame in a similar way to Potsy, where he often gets forced to just load something that's just a little bit too heavy. And that kind of sucks to see in a way, because I love to see it happen and it's the right choice. But I kind of just wish I would have seen him be able to load something that he could have pulled, because it would have been this really awesome day in its entirety. Do you know what I mean?
He almost deserves that because of the progress he's made.
He does, exactly. So, you know, he came through and scored a 315 and bench 190, and had he been able to just pull, you know, a little PR in the deadlift and pull together that really nice high 800s total, I think he definitely had that. I mean, we all know he had that. So I think full credit there to Sam for having an outstanding day, but it was just a little too much. Probably a solid bit too much there on the deadlift. And then for Cody to do so well there, to actually secure the second, come in with a strong enough day to secure the second and be able to go for first and get awfully close to it. Cody actually got closer to his pull than Sam did by quite a big margin. But very, very exciting to watch those three go at it. And it was as close as I hoped it would be.
Yeah.
You know, Josh did so much good lifting that he just, you know what, I say this again because it speaks to my own personal bias. Someone who's able to come through and put up such a formidable subtotal, and he's still a great deadlifter, put up such a formidable subtotal, hit his third and just like kick back and go,
yeah, beat me.
Have fun.
Yeah, good luck.
And they weren't able to.
Yeah.
I think that's so impressive. He was able to stay in his own lane. 337.5. At first, I was like, ooh, you know, because we were sort of saying, hopefully he can return to that 330 mark. And he smoked 337 and a half.
So they put in 335 initially. Danny went in to put in a change, and I'm like, good. They're going to change down. They're going to be a little bit more conservative because they don't think that Cody and Sam can pull them if they get an extra 12 kilos. But they actually changed up, and they could have changed up again. Like, he had room, and I think that was the thing that we were that was the big question mark for us was Josh's deadlift. Where would it show up? And it showed up probably 10 to 12 kilos more than what I was expecting. And, you know, that was the difference, really. And I think, like, having a day like that for Josh after his deadlift progressed so well, and then it kind of went backwards a little bit at Worlds, and now it's obviously clearly on the upturn again. Having that day is what will push him to 350 and what will push him to 355. And if he can get his deadlift up, you know, to within 10 or 15 kilos of Sam and Cody, then he's not going to be touched.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is, like, really that 337 and a half keeps him in that really good stead where if he can get to that 340, 350 mark, like, it isn't a deficit anymore. You know what I mean? It's remarkable. Yeah. So very, very impressive class. All three lads did beautifully. A lot of the other guys had great days as well. And it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, really fun three-way battle. All right, moving on. The final women's class, the 84 plus women. This was a showdown for the ages that everyone in APA was looking forward to and has been looking forward to since they competed against each other last year. And Lucy was able to get the win for the first time over Nat with a 685 kilo total, which was a 30 kilo total PR. Natalie went for 673, which was a 15 kilo PR for her. So she, as we mentioned, is still making really great progress, having, you know, been in the sport longer than Lucy, still making really good progress. Yeah, what do we think about this one?
Yeah, this was super exciting. It did live up to the hype in a lot of ways. So speaking on Lucy, Lucy was so impressive. I think she has shown that she has the potential to do what she did at this competition. And then she came in and executed beautifully. Ended up with what I would call, you know, a perfect day in the true sense of the word. Did end up missing a second bench and then just getting it on the third. Just had a bit of a bungle. But overall, Lucy and Shania worked really well as a team, I think, and picked really good loads and paced the day in a way that created the circumstance for the win. So 265 on the squat, which looked to have a bit of room in it, to be honest with you, maybe about 5 kilos in that, which is phenomenal. The 150 bench press moved smoothly once she sort of got into the right position and did everything correctly on the third. So it was probably a reasonable pick for the second attempt. Maybe seemed a little aggressive when watching the second attempt, but once the third kind of happened, it was like, okay, something went wrong there. And then on the deadlift, huge progress on the deadlift. And again, coming up to a place where almost similarly to Josh, sort of put something in strong enough to really hold her own. And coming out with that 685 was, it put the decision into Nat's court. We know that she was going to have the final say. And so what happened here, for anyone wondering who might be looking at the score sheet, wondering what happened here, is what was necessary for Nat there was 295.5 to get the win. The choice was to load 304, which would not only get the win, but would also claim the overall women's title, which actually was won by Lucy in the end. So that was the choice that was made. Natalie gave 304 a good go, didn't get it. And yeah, I mean, it's very exciting that we're seeing, that 300, historic 300 plus being loaded. We were sort of talking about how it was only a year ago, that Nat was given reds for 275 at Nationals. So the progress there is just unprecedented. So I am very, very excited to see what Nat can deadlift at Worlds. Both of these women will be able to go to Worlds if they wish to.
They both wish to.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be really, really cool to see where Lucy and Nat end up in regard to the standings at Worlds as well, knowing that they came, I think, 4th and 5th last.
I think 5th and 6th.
5th and 6th, maybe.
Let me just check.
So yeah, somewhere just off the podium.
5th and 6th, that's right.
Somewhere just off the podium. But yeah, look, I was very, very impressed by Lucy. I was slightly backing her coming in from memory. I knew it was going to be incredibly close, but she executed. She hit 685, and I mean, we know that both of these women are going to continue to progress past that 700 total, and are both going to be huge forces at the world level. I'm very interested to see what the pacing looks like between now and 12 months' time at the next Nationals, where they get to truly battle again. Worlds is going to be its own kettle of fish, but when they get to come back together and truly battle again, where things have sort of, ended up. So that's my 2 cents on it all.
Before last year, 640 was the biggest female total in drug-tested Australian history. And we've just had 685 in a year. That is crazy. And the fact that the two of them are doing it at the same time, they're just going to drag each other up and push each other up. And I'm really excited for where these two can take it over the next few years, because I think that they both have the potential to be world champion. Which is not something I think I've ever said about any Australian lifter ever. And I think that's fucking cool.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely excited to see not only this Worlds, but to see these two phenomenal lifters continue to push each other over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's very exciting to sort of think where that could go. So, yeah, well done to the ladies there. Rebecca in at 3rd with 507.5. Lauren in 10 kilos under that at 497, and Adele with 492. So obviously 2 heavy front runners there, but that is the standings there for the 84 plus. This was definitely one of the coolest classes of the weekend for the reasons we've sort of laid out there. But ultimately, Lucy put together the package that won, and full credit to Lucy and Shania for doing so well there.
Yeah, Lucy and Josh lifting together, brother and sister in the same session, winning national champions together in the same session. Yeah. So fucking cool, man.
It's really cool.
Honestly, so fucking
cool. And both
cool.
just really lovely people.
So cool.
Very supportive of the community, always happy to have a chat, always smiling.
Don't take it too seriously, but find the nice balance between
They do, but I know what you mean. They take it seriously in a friendly way.
Yeah, they take
They're both so devoted.
Exactly right.
You know what I mean?
They take all of the stuff that matters really, really seriously, and then they're still able to have a laugh and have a joke.
Bullshit. Yeah. And I think that they're actually two people who have life circumstances with work that are challenging for committing to, elite performance in sport, and they both just won. So that's really cool. Yeah. Very encouraging.
Shout out to their parents.
Yeah, shout out to the parents. Raising 2 mad dogs.
All right. In the final weight class of the weekend, the 120 plus, we had Jackson Stubberfield lifting on his own. Man, he did exactly what we said he would do.
Yeah. A little bit worse on the squat.
He actually messaged me saying, you guys called my day perfectly. A little bit less than his best on the squat after having the knee surgery, picking up some kilos on the bench press on his best bench.
Bench was amazing.
Bench 7.5 more than his best, and he had a little bit of room. And then he was able to pick up that world's QT on that second deadlift with 342.5.
Yeah, dude.
So 910 total for Jackson, 10 kilo total PR. Obviously, as I just mentioned,
and then just swung it for that 360.
So as I just mentioned, he had the knee surgery. So he was kind of like, working from a 40 kilo squat back up to 345, and
Incredibly impressive. And his squat looked awesome.
his squat was great.
His squat looked very, very good. I was chatting with Jackson and Kelly a bit, and they said, they've done a lot of work on his squat. It looks far better now. And that's, I think, very encouraging to see like what that platform's going to look like now, how he gets to 355, 360, 365, 370 on the squat over the coming years. The bench press was where he really made a lot of his kilos, and he was sort of remarking to me that, I bench 225 in training, but I do get nerfed a bit after my squats in competition. And he really didn't. His 222.5 was phenomenal. And I think he was pleasantly surprised with that. And they mentioned something about a slight adjustment they made to the bench taper that felt really good. So that's great to see them continue to innovate what works for him. And then to see him just comfortably hit the QT was really nice. Very happy for him. Really excited to see him at Worlds again. Very deserving result and a great guy.
Yeah, Jackson was awesome, and he's such like a happy-go-lucky guy, and he's like really, really fun to be around. He's a big teddy bear.
It's so funny seeing this 120 plus guy like dabbing back in the warm-up room. Like I was just walking past him, he just like dabbed, and I was like,
he's a big teddy bear, and he's fucking strong, and he did amazingly. So shout out to Jackson, and that's the end of the recap.
Beautiful. We did take a little longer than we wanted, but it wasn't too long. I think we spent an appropriate amount of time on everyone.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone feels respected and happy with what we said. I think we gave credit to everyone where it was due, and didn't go too hard on anyone.
Yeah. So congrats to all the lifters. Congrats to everyone, all 121 of you who lifted, including you, Matt.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Well done, mate. And we will talk to you guys soon.
Cool. See ya.